Hello fellow Polytopia players and welcome to the Ultimate Polaris Strategy Guide. In this guide you will find anything you need to know to get good with this amazing tribe. Polaris is my favorite tribe in the game and I've won many games with them. They offer a unique play pattern that can shape up the game a bit and they are very enjoyable to play. However, they are very hard to get used to. So, what is in this guide? I will start off with some general remarks about the tribe and the preferred map types, followed by the early, middle and late game moves that are most successful. After that, I will give some additional advice on this tribe since they are very special and they have their own mechanics. Now before we get into this guide, don't forget to like this video if you want to see more guides, as well as subscribe to this channel so you can stay on top of all the best strategies in the game. Polaris is a slow tribe that needs a decent economy before it can make use of their special units. At the start of the game, they are often an easy target. This means they often do better in games that get into the late game rather than short games on small maps. Moreover, Polaris is a tribe that likes water, since they can make use of the ice they create later in the game. Basically, you want to play them on a normal or larger map that is continent, archipelago or water world. For team gameplay, Polaris is often so good that it's actually banned. In a 2v2 scenario, the same rules apply as for a 1v1. The early game is the hardest for Polaris. They usually have a hard time upgrading their cities if they cannot be linked up with outposts. This is why I suggest not relying on them unless you can be certain that it will pay off. The terrain of Polaris depends on the other tribes, usually meaning that you have to look at what is around your cities, trying to find the resources in your first village that can upgrade your capital and your city. Then move towards the resource with your Muni and train a warrior. This way you have the best shot at building up a good economy. For team gameplay you can always go for the safe route for embassies to support your economy, but this is not always allowed. Just make sure not to make that mistake and discuss with your teammates to meet them as soon as possible. You will need their support in the early stage of the game. The middle game is where you've captured some villages and where you've upgraded some cities. This is where Polaris starts to pick up steam and where most people go wrong with Polaris. A lot of people decide to just spam sleds from here, but that doesn't sit right with me. You probably want fishing, but sleds are more expensive than riders. Riders are extra strong for Polaris once you have Polarism. Polarism gives all your units the skate ability, meaning that every tile is basically a road. Rider roads on steroids is basically the result if you train a lot of riders. And riders also don't lose their dash if they land on a non-ice tile, as opposed to the sleds, in addition to their lower cost. At this stage of the game, you probably have either hunting or organization, riding and fishing. Once you have these, I highly recommend that you get Polarism. It gives your units so much more versatility and makes them all more cost efficient. But this only works if there's water close to you that you can keep frozen every now and then. Of course, you can use Moonies and maybe a Gami or two to achieve this. Do keep in mind that these are expensive units that will be a focus point for your opponent. If you see that your opponent has high impact units such as Knights and Giants that would counter your strategy, you will have some options. You could try to power it through with good unit placements, or you could try freezing the units with archers and or Moonies and Gamis. This usually throws off the opponent, especially if they invested many stars into these units. In the late game you're going to slap around your opponent with the units that are much more efficient than those of your opponents. This is usually around turn 15 to 20, and you probably have quite some good units floating around. Continue freezing units with archers, Moonies and Gamis, but break the ice if you can't battle the opponent on that ice. Now they have wasted their stars and you can profit. If you can't maneuver around the opponent's knights, you can go for sledding, as they are basically swordsmen on ice, but don't spam them, they're expensive. If you really don't know what to do with all of your stars, you could invest into an ice bank, but that's usually not needed. With good unit placement and tactical thinking, you should be able to win. Knights are also a solid option for breaking through. Now here's some extra tips as a cherry on top of that pie. You can use border growth to instantly put ice on a lot of tiles. This can really mess up your opponent's plans and let you destroy their navy. Ice archers can pin down the opposing cities and ports. If you freeze an enemy unit in a city, they can't train any new units there, unless they push it out with a giant, that is. If you freeze a unit in a port, they can't use the port anymore. Polaris can be really quick to get onto other continents with your starting Moonie, so don't be afraid to expand there, since your opponent usually spawns on the opposite side of the map and doesn't have control of their continent yet. Polaris and Samanti are a match made in heaven for team gameplay. Samanti is very aggressive and can defend the Polaris player, while the Polaris player can build up for a late game where it can build bridges for Samanti to cross. Alright folks, that was it for the strategy guide. If you learned something new, make sure to like and subscribe. Polaris is an amazing tribe that is a lot of fun to play. Is there anything I missed? Let me know in the comments down below. Now that is it, I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye!